months left without adult protective services, it took us 7 long years to convince the government to have a law on the books. Last year, Pennsylvania took a major step towards remedying this situation with the passage of Act 70, creating an adult protective services law. Unfortunately, no funding was provided, so the law remains meaningless. Without an effective coordinated system to detect, investigate, intervene, and prosecute abusers, these horrific incidences will continue. It is clear funding is essential to make services real to protect people between 19 and 59. Yet we're told there's no money to implement this law. Today we come here as advocates for people with disabilities and with people with disabilities to demand efforts to implement this law so that it can be accelerated and made real. We must stop these numerous cases of abuse and neglect that take place here in Pennsylvania every day and every year. It is estimated it would take $1.7 million for the first year and then $6 million in year 2 for full implementation. Governor Corbett, for you that's chump change. Can I ask you, Governor Corbett, if we can find money for roads, for favorite projects, and to protect puppies, tell me why we can't find money to protect vulnerable people too. Governor Corbett, we must not wait any longer to move forward with the creation of adult protective services. Remind your funding services it is a responsibility of state government, and it should be carried out regardless of the state's financial situation. This state already funds protective services for children and for older adults. Let's finally protect the people in between 19 and 59. Governor Corbett can provide the same protection to vulnerable adults with disabilities who are being abused, neglected, and targets of criminal activity. On behalf of the 109 groups who supported passage of the Adult Protective Services Act, we are publicly imploring you, Governor Corbett, to take action and include in your 2012-13 budget proposal sufficient funding to implement this law. Make the protections real for abused, neglected, and exploited people in Pennsylvania. Ensure the health and safety of all vulnerable citizens, including people with disabilities, by allocating funding for this law.
I'm Lynn Mack, I'm from Vision for Equality, and the organization believes that people should be in the community. We want our loved ones to live in the community, and we want them to be safe. We want them to be safe from harm, and in order to do that, we need this law funded, and we need it funded now. And without further ado, we're going to hear Representative Dennis O'Brien speak, and he is running for City Council, so let's get a woo!
No, I'm doing that on purpose because I'm here to speak for the voiceless, the most vulnerable in our society, and I'm not here as a candidate for council at large. As the former Speaker of the House, we negotiated this bill. I want to give credit to Senator Pat Vance and Representative Phyllis Monday, who put their partisan differences aside, and we came up with the sanctions that are necessary to protect the most vulnerable in our society, as has been very, very well articulated here today. The money was not appropriated. We're not here to point fingers of blame. The incident that just took place is very tragic. And it also, we all know, because we're here to protect the most vulnerable from abuse, we also know that we have to bring attention to this issue. And every time we bring attention to this issue, and we thank the media for being here, it also further traumatizes those victims because they relive every horrific moment of their captivity. This is $1.7 million, ladies and gentlemen. The sanctions and protections are there. I would like to just articulate what $1.7 million will do. It'll establish a toll-free phone number where concerned friends, family, and neighbors and agency staff can report suspected cases of abuse or neglect. Is that worth $1.7 million? We can hire staff with $1.7 million to investigate complaints. Is that worth $1.7 million? We can work with agency staff who are knowledgeable about the needs of persons with disabilities to provide needed services. Is that worth $1.7 million? We can petition the courts to allow staff to intervene in emergency situations, to provide safe homes for people facing imminent harm. Is that worth $1.7 million? We can begin the process of selecting regional private contractors to carry out these functions in following years. Is that worth $1.7 million? Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here. We're here because we respect people. As many people have told me, as we prepare our loved ones to live in the community, this is an issue where we have to start as a community preparing to accept these individuals in our community, to take responsibility and ownership for them. So when we sense that something is wrong, we report it. But we need $1.7 million to create the mechanism so that we can be proactive. We cannot be reactive as a society. Do we need $1.7 million? Is it worth it? You know what? A much wiser and articulate person than me once said, you can judge a society by how it protects its most vulnerable. I want to thank all of you for coming out and rallying around the humanity that was neglected in Tacony. And I know that you're all sending your love to each and every one of those. Because as I can't emphasize enough, they are traumatized every time a story is told, and they have to relive that horrific moment just as if it were a rape victim in the stand being ripped apart by a clever defense attorney. You know what? We're here because we believe in respecting individuals. We are better because of individuals with developmental disabilities. I want to thank Joe McGrath. And Bobby Heenan, who's a councilman-elect from Northeast Philadelphia, said, Joe, give Maura a pinch on the cheek. He wanted to be here. He wants you to do that. Maureen Devaney, people that are your advocates. I have tirelessly fought. I want to use my podium in this great city of Philadelphia to articulate how wonderfully contributing the most vulnerable are to our society. If government doesn't have a role, if you're one of those people that says government should get out of everybody's business, well, I beg to differ. This is a place where the government has to take an active role, and it only costs $1.7 million. Thank you very much.
Fund this law!
Now!
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 Fund this law!
Now! Make this law now!
We should be doing, we need to be doing to stop the abuse. Thanks for all your efforts, advocates and self-advocates.
In Harrisburg, the governor Mosely, tell him to please fund the law. Thank you very much.
We want to thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it. But what we need is we need to get this law funded because we need authority to go into homes where people are being abused and neglected. Some of the stories you heard here today, these are very serious cases. Just like what happened in the Tacony incident where people were locked in the basement. We don't have any authority to go in and pull these people out when they are being kept from food and kept from the community and being starved to death. We don't have any authority. So that is why we need